What's up? Happy Friday. TGIF. Cool. Oh, goodness. Some coffee that I almost spilled. That would have been bad. Today's going to be fun. We are going to be testing using Jest and the JavaScript testing library. So let me kind of rearrange my screens for just a second. So many windows. So many windows. Okay. We want our project open. So I was working on a few things yesterday and Thursday. Yesterday was Thursday. Wednesday. And I got ahead of myself and I need to go back and write tests for these things. So I'm gonna have to dig through my code base just a little bit and make sure that I have tests for everything that I'm supposed to have tests for. So I'm going to, let's see, I'll share my screen. And we'll start writing here and look at the code. So if you've been following along, I am working on this project called Made with Xata, and it is basically a gallery where someone can submit a project that they have worked on and that it's made in Xata. And so this will showcase all the projects made with Xata. Last night, I also started trying to hotwire everything to Xata just out of curiosity to see how it went. And it is so smooth. It's such a great experience. So I'm excited to stream more about that and create additional content around that. But anyways, I'm still working on the front end. So the goal is to wrap up the front end this week. There's still a lot of work to be done on the responsive side. And then I'm going to go back and next week and try and connect everything to the back end. In the schedule, I gave myself 2 weeks to connect it to the back end. Honestly, it's so smooth with Xata. I don't think it's going to take that long. So what I'll probably end up doing is then spending the 4th week instead of hot wiring everything, because I think that that'll just come together really nicely, is just trying to kind of tweak and tighten different bits and pieces. So just like making sure responsive is working correctly and all those good things, adding another level of polish. So Dustin, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Yesterday, there were people that lurked, which is totally fine. When I jump on stream, I'm usually as a watcher, I'm usually a lurker, but I always love talking to people. So we need to do another coding session together. Are you doing any fun things? Working on any fun projects? I have tons of ideas. And one of the things that I struggle with, learning Go. Nice. Speaking of, well, let me finish this thought. So one of the things that I always struggle with is what do I work on next? And yesterday's team member introduced me to the RICE formula, which was fascinating. It's like you give everything a number. So it's reach, impact, confidence, and then you divide it by effort. So it's reach times effort times, reach times impact times confidence, all divided by, I said this wrong. Let me look at the formula. Hold on. I have an image. I will pull it up on screen. Reach times impact times confidence divided by effort is the RICE score. And so that gave me a lot of insight into what I should be working on. And some of the stuff is yep, I knew I should be working on it. And some of the stuff is I want to work on that, but that is at the bottom of the list now. So anyways, this was very insightful for me. But yeah, I'll actually, let me send you a link. So it was created by the Intercom team, and I'm going to tweet about this because I thought it was really helpful. Here's the article that they wrote about it that does a really good job of explaining it. And I will share this screenshot because it doesn't have the actual projects, but I have a project database in Notion. And so what I did was I created columns for reach. And reach is based on how many people that you think that you could reach, say, in a month. And so impact, so this is a project for me. That's why it's 1. And then this is impact. So it's a score of 1 through 5. And the impact is also related to what is the impact related to your overall goal and vision for what you're working on? And then confidence is just like how much confidence you have in delivery and being able to do that. Effort is scale of 1 to 5. And the way that I did this was like this project is a 5 because it's actually no, I did something. Did I do it that way? Yeah, effort. I was doing time and effort. So like this is going to be like a 5-month project. This should have been a 5 because it's like an ongoing project. But you can see, and I will, yeah, trying to remember what some of these numbers are. Because some of these look lower than what I remember them being. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The order's still the same. So you can see projects that I've already started. And anyways, it was just very insightful. Oh, this is the estimated value. So once you have the formula, yeah, that's the result. Wow, I need my coffee. Okay, fun times. So, but in terms of languages, so this project is built on Next, and they're using their Rust compiler to help run all the Jest tests. And I've been so amazed by how fast everything is. So it got me thinking, I wonder what it would take to learn Rust as if I need another thing. Okay. Let's see here. Let's actually run my tests because I think I might have some broken tests in here already. That's right. I was working on my card component and I don't think I wrote stories for the card component. So let me split this and make sure that I have Storybook also up and running. 2 weeks. Oh, goodness. Of Rust. Yeah, I've heard is it like when you say lost your mind, like thrown in the deep end, this is crazy, or like I'm done with this? Okay. Yeah, that's what I've heard. It was so hard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Okay. You said it was hard. Then I know it's really hard. Oh man. What's up, Queen Ray? Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah, so see, what did I have? Oh, one of the things that I like to do when I'm coding is I will put my project colors in the bars so that it makes it really easy to tell what VS Code window I have. So this is pink. Let's see if I have another project up and running and I can show you. I don't. Let me see. Oh, here's one I'm working on. This is very bright. Not bright, but just very different. Here is another app that I'm working on. It has orange and yellow in it. So it just makes it really easy to keep all my projects straight when I have multiple windows open. And maybe you already know this, going down a rabbit hole, is that this is within a VS Code project, you have a .VS Code folder, and under settings, you can just set whatever colors you want to use. It's pretty great. So I don't know about that. You said I have so much to learn from you on productivity. I still have a lot to learn. So, awesome. Let's see. Yeah, Dustin, I feel like the last like big learning thing that I learned was React, and that was a little bit of a jump up, but it's once I kind of was able to wrap my head around that model, it's been easy to pick up other things like Vue and SvelteKit and like Next and Redwood and Zay, like all these things, all the Jamstack stuff. So it's interesting how like once you get to certain levels, it like unlocks a lot more knowledge or makes it easier to transfer those things. Hey, Jay Boda, you are not too late. I actually haven't even started coding. Just been chatting about things. So you are not too late. And definitely always a work in progress, Ray. So, Dustin, tell me oh man, my dogs are going to go crazy. Tell me a little bit more about Go. Like, does that even work with Rust, or are they just like two totally different things? I know I've heard about it. I just haven't dug into it. And then while I'm waiting for you to answer, I'll go ahead and talk about this project. So, anyways, I'm building a gallery. I started writing tests. And so there's a few things that I've got to do to clean things up a little bit. So just different. Okay, cool. Uh, so let's see what can I do. I have a card. I don't think I wrote my stories for my card. So I'm going to come down here and I have my story. Okay. I see. People just like to say them in the same breath. That makes sense. So yeah, I haven't passed in any of the props for the card. So I'm going to come over to Chrome and I'll come down here. So this is the card. I was actually pretty excited about this because all these image transformations are happening within CSS. And so, JavaScript testing library, I'm using Jest and the JavaScript testing library. So I know that's very descriptive, but it is, yes, they are both high in demand. I actually heard the other day that, now I don't know if this is true, but the Rails is one of the more high in demand stuff right now. So I'm using the JavaScript testing library. Any of the main JavaScript things like SvelteKit, Vue, React, any of those. Yeah, so we'll jump into it. I'll show you what some of those things look like. And then I'm also using Storybook. So Storybook is great when you want to develop components in isolation. So for example, I can create all these Legos or all these building blocks, and then I can assemble those into pages. And so it just makes development go a lot faster. I'm not having to like create dummy pages to build out components. And it also has self documentation. So you kind of see here that I need to change the canvas on this so it's black, but here is the account nav component. You can see all of the props that I'm passing in, and I can also say show code and just copy and paste that in. So when you're working with a team, this is really great. I also just like it for when I just feel like it makes development easier. Yeah. So, yeah, Storybook. That's awesome that you're working to bring it in. So like I said, I've enjoyed it. There's been a few quirky things like trying to make like Webpack, make sure that you're all in the same version there. But anyways, yeah, I'm a fan. Okay, so here's the card component. And let's wanted to make sure that this is set up correctly within Storybook, and then also write the tests around it. So I think I just hard coded all of the values in. Yeah, I did not pass in the dynamic pieces. So one of the things I can do is start to make this dynamic. And I do have TypeScript on the project. Destin, I have a lot of what I know about TypeScript I owe to you. Cool. So let's see. This is saying that it is not in the project globals.d.ts file. Let's see. I do not have a description, so let's add that. Let's say description, string, and I'm going to put a question mark because it's not required. Now that'll resolve that issue that was popping up. I have my button that will always link to the project details, and this should have a slug on here. Yes, future me, thanks me. I mean, there's so many like bugs that TypeScript just catches for you, or it's like, this is not great code. That I love that it fixes all that. So I'm going to do a project.slug here. Oh, that's nice. That all played together. Okay. Now I'm curious about Go, as if I need one more thing. Okay, actually I don't need this. We can say that for our project, I don't have it on here. We need the GitHub repo. So Ray, if you're still in the chat, I've been referencing your project, Prune Your Follows, as we've been working on this. So I think there's screenshots of your stuff on my mockups, which is fun. Okay, so you have our GitHub repo. Oh, this is crashing now. Great. I think what's happening is I'm not passing in any props. That's the problem. Okay, and then for this, we need to pass it an image. So I can say maybe it's our, uh, maybe we'll have a featured image and that'll be a string. And then think, I think I want 3 screenshots max. Featured image, we'll say screenshot 1, and then I'll do 2, 3 on this. So for our image here, I can pull in the featured image. Project dot. And I can tell you why it's fussing at me in a second. I am using Next on this, and it wants me to use. Maybe you guys know the best way to solve this. Part of the problem is it wants me to use Next's image, which I know I'm going to get better performance off of it, but the image component forces you to have a width and a height, and I don't always know the width and the height. So it's annoying to me. Or like I sometimes get confused with how to handle that responsively because I'm like, I don't want to lock it in at a specific width and height because it should scale. So I might just need to do like a deep dive on the next image component to figure out some of the ways to handle some of those edge cases. Hey, you don't use image. Haha. Okay, so I'm going to say disable for the entire file. Interesting. Runs up the server cost. Okay. So we'll just do this. I'll just disable that ESLint rule. Perfect. Glad that there's a consensus. Okay, so for the card stories here, the reason that this is yelling at me is because actually the tests are running is because I'm not passing any props. And one of the things that I'm going to do, because there's a lot here, and if we want to, we can use the same props in both the story and the test. So I'm going to say card.mox.ts, and now I can have my project and just define all those things in one place. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of this, and then I'm going to swap these things out. So like we can have an ID of one. Let's use Ray's project, Prune Your Follows, because it is built on Xata or built with Xata. And it has been approved because I'm approving it right now. I'll create a slug here for Prune Your Follows. Perfect. I'm going to say it is going to be featured. And we can have a featured image. Right now, I think I have this in my clipboard. I'm going to use kittens because everybody loves kittens as placeholder image. And we'll use this as well. And I believe if I change the size on this, it will give me a different image. So I'll just change these slightly so we get 3 different images. Cool. And screenshot number 3. Ray, are you still in the mountains? Oh, look at that. It even plugged in GitHub Copilot, plugged in a description there. That's fun. I was going to say, I'm going to be really impressed if it finds your repo and plugs that in as well. Okay, I'm just going to leave that at github.com and the contributor, Ray. Perfect. For your avatar, I'm going to use a kitten. We'll see what kitten you are. And for colors, I have several loaded in. Alien Armpit is the one that I'm using quite frequently right now. Plus, it's just a great name. And we also need an IP. We're using React, and I know that you are using Gatsby on this, which is awesome. Okay. Cool. And I just need to get rid of that semicolon. So now I have my mocks, and now I can pull this into my story component or my story file. So you can say project is equal to project. I think I capitalized. Yeah, make that a lowercase. Now we just need to import this from our mocks file. And let's see, it didn't like something on your couch in Oslo. Good. Oh, that's very kind. I'm glad you dropped in. I still need to send you an invite so we can stream together. Okay, so my avatar color is incompatible. It didn't like my alien armpit. Let's see. What is the problem here? I wonder if I just comment this out, if that'll make that happy for right now. People didn't like something. Yeah, it's saying avatar color is missing. That's hilarious. Okay, let me see on my, it's like it's referencing theme colors. Here's my alien armpit. Dustin, this is where I can use your help because you're my TypeScript person. Okay, so it's saying that it doesn't my contributor dot avatar color is incompatible, I guess, with what I passed it. So here's my theme colors, and then I have avatar color up here. And I passed it alien armpit. I'm also gonna see how many times I can say alien armpit on this stream. Okay, let's add that. Let's see. Type string is not assignable to type. Oh, I wonder if I say as theme colors, make it happy. It's not just any, yeah, it's not just any string, that it is one of the theme colors. Okay. Okay, so we'll roll with that. Okay, so here's our project. I am just passing in the entire project object. Sometimes what I'll do, I like doing with Storybook, is like separating these pieces out so that you get these nice little controllers. But the project, just passing in a project object does make it easier when you're, say, trying to loop over something and you're just like, I'm sending everything a project and don't have to list out all the bits and pieces that I'm passing in. So here's my card. Everything is loading correctly in Storybook, which is awesome. So now let's talk about the test piece. So on the test side, I have a card that works. Card.test.tsx, and it's complaining because it doesn't know about any of the props. And so if we pass that in, interesting. I will have to check out that video. Oops. I'm gonna take a screenshot. It's funny, sometimes I let my screenshots be like my to-do items. Okay, so here is my test. I think this should be passing now. Yeah, my test is passing. So now I just need to walk through all the things that you can do with the card. So what I like to do is I just like to make a list of those things, and then I like, so here I'll say it skip. So it's not going to run the test, but this becomes a list, a to-do list of all the different tests that I need to write. So in this case, I want to make sure, and you can come back over here, that I'm showing the title, the project title correctly. So you just write it as a sentence. So it shows the project title. And then the next one, I want to make sure that it shows the project description. The next one, I want to make sure that it links to the links to the project slug, however that's working. And then we have it links to the GitHub repo. Even say the correct links to the correct project. I'm going to say project details page is really where that's going to go. And then it's also loading in. Check out those pictures of cats. It shows the featured image, and then it shows the first screenshot. Cool. So I think that's everything. Oh, I need to terminate my string. There we go. And then it didn't like, oh, because I duplicated that. Perfect. So this now becomes my to-do list of, thanks for looking for that, Dustin, by the way. This becomes my to-do list of everything that I need to work through. Dustin, have you, I know cats. Dustin, have you worked through the total TypeScript? I've been really impressed with some of the stuff that Matt Pocock is putting out. I'm going to make this bigger. Sorry about that. Just realized be easier if the code is bigger for you. Okay, so I want to test, does it show the project title correctly? And even the framework that Matt has on his course, I know he's partnering with Egghead on that, is really nice. They have these Stack Blitz um, embedded like IDEs basically. And so you can almost write the code directly in the project, like in the course. It's really, really sweet, really smooth. Okay, so here we want to say, okay, it shows the project. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually render that project onto the screen. And then the next thing that we want to do is we need to, we can say that we are expecting something to happen. And this is one of like the best use cases for GitHub Copilot because it is really good at writing tests. So um, a lot of times I'll have it kind of write what it thinks and I'll go back and check it. So in this case, it's saying that it's expecting and it's going to grab the text for the project name. So we're passing in the project so it knows what the project name that we're looking for. So if I come over here, the project name is Prune Your Follows. And then it's expecting for that to be in the document. And the reason this is red is because we also need to import screen, and that is coming from the testing library. So the testing library gives us some nice handles for being able to test within React. So now I'm going to come over. Actually, I don't need to come over. I just need to check and make sure that our test is passing, which it is. We got a nice little green check mark. So I don't know about you guys. I know testing isn't everybody's favorite, and I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I do get so much satisfaction in like getting my test to turn green and seeing that green little check mark. To me, it's like this gamified feeling. Okay, so in this case, we want to do the exact same thing except for our project description. So I'm rendering it out and then I'm saying, hey, on the screen, we want to go ahead and grab our description for our project and we expect that to be in the card. So if I run that, you can see that that test passed. And I mentioned this earlier. So Next 13 is pre-configured to use Rust with Jest. I've just been so amazed by how fast the tests are running. I think before when I was using Webpack, it was taking 5 to 10 seconds. And so it just would take a minute to run everything. Okay. So now we want to make sure that it links to the project details page. This one's a little bit different, but we can go ahead and get by text the project details. So that's going to be this particular link right here. And so we can just grab that particular element by text and we're expecting it to have the attribute href because it is a link and then it should match our project slug. So if I save that, oh, good, it blew up. That's good. You were saying your Twitter friend did a great talk on TDD, training a dog with treats. Yes, that's exactly how it, it feels. Okay, so something failed, and this is one of the reasons why I really like Jest and how it handles everything is that, yes, this is not in the, oh, no, it is in there. So it will tell you this is what I expected to get, and this is what I received, and it received nothing. So if we come over here, let's make sure that everything is working. So here's my slug. So it should have been prune your follows, which is right. That's what we're expecting. But if we come over to our card, so here's our card component, and I come down to my button, here is my project slug. So that's interesting. It does look like it's there. Let me check it in Storybook to see what the problem is. So I'm just going to highlight our project details here. And here is everything. So it is coming through. I think what's happening is it's grabbing the element by text, which is a div. So there's not going to be an href on here. And so what we need to do, I think this will work. This will be a good experiment. Is I think what I can do is I can say I'm closest. So we're grabbing this, but we want to grab the closest a tag. I think if I did not like that. I thought that was a value you could add. Let me check the documentation on this. JavaScript testing library closest. And let's see what this says. Parent node closest div. So it returns the first starting at the element, including the ancestor that matches the selector and null otherwise. So I think that should have worked. Yes. Unless I needed to go up. parent by parent. Unsafe member access. Let me check. Okay, this is still gonna give me a hard time. So one of the things that I do that is not necessarily recommended, and the reason it's not recommended is because people can't, um see, like, you're not interacting with the code the way that a user is, and you're littering your code with data test IDs. So if I add a data test ID on this and say, this is my button link, and now if I come back over, I can just grab that item directly. So here I want to say get by test ID. And now I should be able to grab that. Still failed. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Unable to find an element data test ID. Did I save what I was working on? Maybe it doesn't like the fact that that's directly on the link tag, like on. Let me check the front end code really quick. So here is my project details button. I do have a data test ID button link. Oh, that's interesting. Links to the unable to find an element data test ID closest. Oh, I said closest. Oh, lame. Closest instead of what the button link is. Yeah, I'm passing in. The test ID is not closest. It's button link. User error. I gotta love that. Okay, so now everything's passing. Appreciate the suggestion though. Okay, so yeah, smart me. Okay, links to the correct GitHub repo. This should actually be very similar here. So we are passing in here. We're not. This is GitHub on GitHub, and I'll do the same thing here. Data test ID on GitHub. Link. Save over here. And I'm going to add, let's see, this is this. So I'm getting it by the test ID on GitHub link, and I'm expecting it to have the attribute. And this needs to have, for our project, let's see what this is called, not this one, global.t.ts file. We're grabbing this GitHub repo. Whoops. Save that. It failed. And oh, I put a slash in front. We don't need a slash. Perfect. And I can actually get rid of the string interpolation here. Looks good. And we got 2 more tests. So we're showing the featured image. So here I want to render the card out. And then I'm just going to copy this. For our card, let's come over here to our card component. I have 2 images. So this is my featured image, and then I have my screenshot. I can grab these by alt text. So let's do that instead of writing a data.testid. This, I'm going to say it is, I want to use the the project description. So or project name. So I'm going to say project.name, and I'm going to say featured screenshot. And then here, I will do something similar. Hey, the Cyan God, what is going on? You guys should all jump in a stream with James later, and we are interviewing for Compressed Alan, who's I think he's the creator or CEO of ngrok. So that'll be a fun stream. So that's in an hour from now, basically. Okay, so we have the project name. This is going to be the first screenshot. So what I'm building is I'm building a gallery for any projects that are made with Xata. And right now we are testing some of these front end components. So I have a card component, and this is what it looks like in Storybook. And then I wrote some tests for it. So oh yeah, I just copied and paste. So here, what I need to do is I need to get by alt text, and then I can grab this right here. So we're going to grab it by our alt text, and then I'm expecting it to have a attribute of source and for it to display the featured image source, and that should pass. Awesome. Now I want to do something very similar for our first screenshot that we're showing. So here we will say, instead of featured image, we'll say first screenshot, and then we can change the name here to be screenshot 1. I think all my tests are passing. The other thing that I wanted to do that I noticed was the placeholder images that I have. Is this live? It is not really TDD because I wrote the front end component first. So it's, what would you call? It was like test second development or tests on the back end development, but it's not back end that we're testing. Okay, so one of the things I realized was the images that I was using before had rounded corners, and I do want those to have rounded corners. So I just need to do that with CSS. So I'm going to come up here, and on my image, I can just add a class name here, but I'm using Tailwind. So I think we can just say rounded small, and I don't think that worked. There we go. It did. It was just very, very small. Let's see, what is large? Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to copy this and I'll paste this down here. Awesome. Now I have rounded corners. This is looking good. Okay, let me see what else. I think there's some other components. Let me check this in. So I was setting up Xata, so I had some files in here that I should have committed earlier. I did update these files. Which is this? Okay, that's getting Xata up and running on the project. So here I'm going to say, yeah, so I'll talk about Xata. That's a great question. We wrote tests for the card component. So Xata is a backend, it's a service, basically. So you have, what it'll do is it provides a database for you. And I started last night knowing I was going to stream next week about Xata. So I was just really curious. Wanted to have more experience with Xata before I started streaming about it. And it was so easy to get everything up and running. So the you can create your databases here. It also has search built in, which is really great. You can filter everything, and it also gives you an IDE, you can plug into VS Code. It has a VS Code extension. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then, yeah, kind of like Firebase. That's a great use case. And actually, I think my friend Ray is in the chat, and so she's also doing a podcast with Xata right now, where she's interviewing different people to see how they set up their data models and their schemas and things like that. So, yeah, I was going to say, Ray, drop a link in the chat, and so that people can see if they want to jump on, see some of you're creating some great content around Xata that's really interesting. So let me actually pull this up. I'm going to log into the back end. And so I started to set up the schema. And the nice thing is you can just say generate random data and it will populate it. So it's not like you have to write these seed files or go in and put in a bunch of dummy data, which is really nice. And you can see here's the schema. And I haven't set up relationships yet, but here, I'll do it right now. If I wanted to create a relationship, I can just say link to another table. I'm going to link to the ID in the contributor column. And here's my link. So I'm going to say create column. Oh, what did I do wrong? ID is a reserved name. Oh, I didn't link to the right thing. Let's link to I put in the wrong thing. Hold on just a second. Link to another table. The column name for this is going to be contributor ID. And then I'm linking to the contributor table. Okay, perfect. I was using a name that already exists on the table. But now like you get this visualization of how your schemas are linked together, which is really nice. The other thing that I really like about Xata is I'm going to hide the sidebar here. You get, I use a secondary sidebar, so you can drag this over and use it in the main window. But I'm going to stick this back over here. So many panels and so many windows. Let me close some of this down. So with Xata, they also have a VS Code extension, which I love being able to see this in my code. So as I'm writing and accessing different properties and columns, yeah, you can do it with the GUI. You can also do it within the file. I'll show you the file in a second. So here's my database that I'm working with. You can see here's the project already. This is really impressive. It's already pulled in that contributor ID that I created in their GUI interface. And you can see like here's all the data. The other thing that's really cool is you can do branching, which is again very, very nice. And then there is, hold on. I'm not looking in the right place. You can also pull up all the data. Give me a second. Let me find this. Oh, I had that right. Come back over here. Oh, and Explorer. That's right. So, this is my my databases that I have right now within Xata. I have my main branch, which is great. There is a way I can insert records directly. uh, Yes, so that's hilarious. Yeah, you can also do I was reading your comments, right, with the VS Code extension. Yeah, you can also do everything within the command line, and their command line tool is fantastic too. I mean, they are so focused on the developer experience, it's crazy. So you can insert records directly using the VS Code extension. There's also, I'm trying to find it. Maybe it's as a panel. You can view there's a view where I can view all the data. I'm trying to remember where that is. Move secondary. Maybe it's just here. No. So I'll figure this out by next. Oh, preview data. Duh. Again, user error. So if I come over, I can now preview all the data that's in my table directly within VS Code. And then I can click open in Xata and it will load in that directly, like take me to that exact spot on the in the browser. Yeah, it is amazing. So let me show you one more thing. I'm going to close this and go back over to my content. So one of the things I was messing with last night, because this was like, this is gold. I have here, let me show you the front end. Give me just a second. Let me come back over to VS Code and pull up my terminal. I'm going to pull up my project. So I'm going to say yarn dev. And when this comes up, I'll show you what the front end looks like. So it will give you a little bit more context for what I'm trying to do. So here I'm going to open up localhost 3000. So at the top, I have, what did I do wrong? Failed prop type. Expects a string. I did something crazy just now. Okay, let me show you. I'll come back and fix that. I'm getting distracted from what I'm really trying to show you. Okay. So I have a featured section here where I want to feature certain projects. And then down here, I'm listing projects. So there's two, and the other thing is since users can submit them, projects also need to be approved. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to grab a list of all the projects here that have been approved. There's no need for me to send the false that have not been approved. There's no reason for me to send those to the front end when I'm just going to filter them out. Like I don't want that stuff in the front end anyways. So what I can do is I can say in Xata, I want to filter these. So I'm going to say is approved, is true. So it filters this view, but here's the thing. When you go to get your code snippet, it's already added, like accounted for that view. And if I want to just grab all, like I can do pagination or I can do query all. So you can write your own queries. That's fine. It's following a general structure, but I can also have it write that query for me. And it's creating documentation based on what I'm seeing in the viewport, which I mean, in terms of working with data is brilliant. The other thing, oh man, so I need to delete my integration with Xata so that you can see how smooth the process was. When you install the Xata um, extension and you say like Xata init, it will go ahead and configure everything for your like in your project for you. Like I didn't have to do any configuration, which was mind blowing. It's like if you follow the docs, it's like, oh yeah, you should have a this is a component. You should have a .env file. I'm not going to pull mine up because it has my API key in it. But it was like you should have a .env file with your Xata API key. It created that for me. It added it to the env file for me. And then it already created this Xata.ts file. So this is what I was going to show you. You can also write your own schemas for your project, and it will also export these out. So this makes it really easy too if you're trying to like share projects or things like that with different spaces. So anyways, very cool. I need to sync this one because it doesn't have that new property that I added, the contributor ID link. But it's also really nice if you would rather write a schema, you can write a schema. So, or it'll generate this for you for export, which is really cool. So the other thing, Brad Garapee's also been doing quite a bit with Xata. One of the things that he pointed out that I really like. So I've used Supabase before, and your free projects on Supabase are on a 2-week timer. So if you don't touch your project or there's no movement on that project for 2 weeks, it'll automatically put itself to sleep. So like I'm constantly finding issues where I'm trying to go back into the project and it's like, oh, it's asleep. I've got to restore everything. And the Xata free plan is so generous. It never goes to sleep. It never times out. It's just incredible. It's just really great. So yeah, you should definitely check out Xata. Um, but yeah, and Ray just released some content too about their search. Their search feature is really amazing. So Monica, who's the CEO, came from Elasticsearch. So it has first class support and integration with Elasticsearch, which I'm sure is why one of the reasons why it's so great is because she's really put a lot of attention and priority into that. So, and you can see like over here in the sidebar, you can search anything and you can configure like how do you want to boost certain posts or certain results in your results. So, anyways, very very cool. So kind of got off track, which is totally fine. I'd rather talk about things that people in the stream want to talk about. But the plan is that I'll probably wrap up the front end development for this hopefully this week. I'll work on it some on the weekend. It is open source if you want to see some of the fun things that I'm doing there. And then next week, I will really focus in on the back end and hotwire everything. And I counted for 2 weeks for back end hot wiring and things like that. I just was like, oh, this will take a while. And after the stuff I was doing last night and the stuff that I just showed you guys, I was like, it's not going to take an entire week for me, or 2 weeks for me to do that. So this was meant to be a 4-week project. So probably the 4th week, I'll go in and tighten a few things up or add a little bit of polish. So yeah, so Cyan God, you were saying you are a junior web dev, haven't worked with a backend as a service yet, only did your own APIs in Express. So I would just say, one, that's awesome. And it's great for a learning experience because you know how things work. And two, it's also the harder way, which means like anything like what we're doing is going to be so much easier when you get ready to, if you ever want to work with some of the backend as a service stuff. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of some of the stuff that Xata is doing. But I would say like the fact that you have that foundational level is going to make anything that you do with say a backend as a service all that much easier. So the thing is, it's kind of interesting is like there's so many things like when you're working with backend development that are just very repetitive. Like you have your CRUD operators where you're doing create, read, update, and delete, and you have to write all those things for basically any table that you're working with or whatever. And so it's so great when you work with these tools that are like, okay, I know you're going to want to do these 4 things. I'm going to go ahead and provide those for you out of the box so you don't have to write them yourself. So very, very cool. Yeah, so you've been looking at Firebase, Supabase stuff, and Xata. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Supabase. I haven't worked with Firebase a lot, but I've been really impressed with the stuff that Supabase is kicking out, and the Everything Svelte course that I've been working on is all connected to Supabase, and that is also just a great product. Yeah. Yeah, and Ray's right. So Firebase and Supabase will both give you authentication, and Supabase also has a was like a bucket or storage element to it. So if you wanted to store files, um, that is one of the things that we'll do next week is I'm going to connect it to Cloudinary. So we're storing these images. We'll have to stick those on Cloudinary, and then you'll store the string or the path to Cloudinary within the database. Yeah, but Zeta does have a great auth adapter, and I think that's what you're talking about, right? There was just an article that trying to think who dropped it. It came across Twitter this morning that was like talking about how easy it was to do auth with Zeta. This one. Uh, so here's their auth provider, and so this article just goes step by step, connecting everything to next auth. Yeah. Yeah, and I think is that Attila? Attila, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I met him in London. But yeah, just it's things like this that I'm like, I know people sometimes freak out about Chat GPT and like what's coming of our careers, but I still just look at the landscape and get so excited about all the tooling because it just makes everything so much easier. Like it's amazing like where we've been and like where we're going and just think, where will we be even 10 years from now? Very cool. So awesome. Well, I need to run to company stand up. I'm actually running it today, so have to be there on time. But I appreciate everybody hanging out in the chat. We had some great conversation today. If you guys want to, if you're not doing anything in an hour, I am going to be streaming on James's Twitch channel and his YouTube channel. We'll be recording an episode of Compressed. Today we're interviewing Alan, who is, I think he's the CEO or creator of Ngrok, which will be really fun because I've done some stuff recently with Ngrok, and that's just another fantastic product. So, anyways, appreciate everybody. Have a great Friday, and I'll be streaming next week. So, if you can't come later today, definitely catch me next week. Bye.